Can you scoot over a little?
Right.
Hey.
All right.
All right, hey everyone, welcome to Hatch Duo's first YouTube live. We're coming live at you guys here, currently with the co-founders, John and Mike. And today we're going to discuss whether or not we think artificial intelligence or AI can ever replace designers or engineers. But first of all, we kind of want to do like a mic check. If you're in the chat right now, give us a little thumbs up if you can hear us, okay? If you join. And be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to our channel as well. Okay. So I guess first and foremost, in order to understand how AI can affect the product development field, I want to get your guys' thoughts. How would you guys define AI?
Yeah, I think that's a loaded but great question. I can
You answer more complex, elaborate. I'll go with the simple one.
well, first let me just disclaim that like I am by no means an expert in AI, but like obviously it's been a topic pretty discussed right now in our industry about, you know, especially with all of these. Recently, there's been a lot of AI platforms being created and developed that are using like imagery to kind of like mix and mesh and create like artwork and things like that. And now there's been some examples of designers using them to like create new shoes and things like that. And so that's just kind of the baseline. So what I think AI is AI is artificial intelligence, something that can basically handle complex problems and solve them in a way that the human mind would be able to do. And obviously there's a distinction between AI and automation, right?
Yeah.
I think those get confused a little. Automation is something where it's like pre-programmed and it's, you know, processes that happen where there's no human intervention at all. Whether you use AI to get that automation to exist or like manual, you know, mechanical building things, whatever that may be. I think those two can be kind of, they don't have to be mutually exclusive, but they are two different things.
So AI, from my perspective, it's very simple, and I think I have a more simple answer than that. It's a set of human inputs, constraints, if you would, right, that you enter into a computer, for example, and the computer's pre-programmed, the AI is pre-programmed to solve a certain set of problems, whatever you program it to do. I think that's my simple answer. As far as like how an engineer, I think would apply AI, I think the tools that John just explained, I think it introduces a level of creativity, something that engineers kind of lack, myself, and probably as an example. So I think it adds another layer of creativity. We need to fill that void. Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, are there any certain aspects of the design process that can already be animated, or can you guys talk about experiences that AI cannot provide?
Yeah, so I think like in some ways, if you think of a computer as AI, you think of software as pre-programmable AI. It already exists, right? So if you think of CAD, 3D CAD, like what we use Rhino, we use SolidWorks, and we use Keyshot, right? There's all these kind of pre-programmed, you know, data used to compute and solve problems that, you know, otherwise before our time was probably used through hand sketching or 2D hand drafting. Now that's kind of already been relatively replaced, right? Like I think you take one of my junior designers and you put them against a senior industrial designer from the past, like, and you have that guy draft, you know, orthographic drawings versus like, you know, my designer, you know, CADing up, you know, a headset or something, for instance. It's so much faster, right?
Yeah.
And then you can just, you know, shift it in 3D print and stuff like that. So I think in that sense, you know, in terms of just technology and advancement, yeah, like we've come a long way. Will it really replace designers? I think that's a subjective question, because I think technology will get to the point where I think it, you know, it's going to replace a lot of what, like, if you're looking right now on like Dolly, for instance, right? You type in headphone, Zaha Hadid rendering, and it comes up with some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like stuff that I even wouldn't have even thought of. But at the same time, it's like it's still kind of like muddy right now. It's very early. But if you can imagine that like 10, 20 years from now, like how they'll perfect that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at like what CAD did, right, to the industry, what Keyshot did to chalk rendering, right, things like that. I do think it's there's some chances that certain processes will be replaced as a tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think with design, I think we're just scratching the surface, right? If you think about AI, it's constant learning. The machine is constantly learning, whereas the human, it can only store so much memory, right? We run out of memory, whereas AI is infinite.
Yeah.
So for someone human, for example, to start off as a junior ID and to get to a senior, it takes years. Whereas, if you program the AI to learn a certain skill or skills, I think it probably takes a lot less time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Like, I think it bridges the gap, like what Mike was saying. It probably bridges the gap of
the experience gap
of things that normally would take, certain amount, speed.
Yeah.
Speed can kind of be bridged in that sense. But yeah, I was thinking about, as you were talking, I was thinking about, well, like really replace designers, and I think like there's possibly not, because I was just thinking about just how these programs are operating. It's all pre-programmed data, and then it evolves and it learns, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, if you were to, like, let's just say 10 years from now, okay, like more advanced, doing something for, let's call it a wearable, right? Some kind of wearable. The speed advantage is going to be on the AI side, no matter what. Like, its computational power is just going to be much faster than our human brain can process. Actually think of what a designer does. We're not necessarily just purely engineers. We're not just purely computing a binary problem.
Yeah.
We're using empathy and we're using observational inputs from the human brain, how we interpret it as humans, right? Because we don't interpret them like computers. We don't interpret them like animals. We interpret them based on our cultural context, and then we translate those inputs into, visual outputs. And I think that's how the AI is being created right now, is using, like how we think, and we're kind of programming the way we think. Because of that, it's always the tip of the spear. You're always going to be innovating and thinking of new ways of doing things. It's like music.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you remix songs, you're always be gravitating towards like a fresh way of doing something, right?
Yeah.
Like new voice sounds, right? And you're into music, so I don't know, you can speak
That's
to
like
that
a
too.
whole different discussion.
Yeah. But I don't think like the human side of AI, I still think like we're very far from like Skynet or
do you think it can extract and learn emotion?
I think it can replicate it as long as it's as long as it has enough pattern input. But like, I'm even trying to, like, it's actually making me think right now, like, what is it when as a designer, as you thread the needle between what you see, your cultural context, like how I design is very different than how like you would design, how Blake would design, or how like any of our designers design, because it's built on your background experience and everything.
Yeah.
Like, how is an AI going to know that, like, let's just say we have clients, right, who we've known for years, and we've known their entrepreneurial journeys, we've known their exits, we've known like what they like, and they come to us and they say, hey, like, we're in the phase of a process of a design, and we're like, hey, we like where this is going, like the COGS, the cost of goods is great, but it's just, something's like not there. Like I just need something to happen with the surface. I can interpret that and still come out with something, I think, with my team.
Okay.
You type that into the AI, the computer's just gonna explode. Like, it's gonna come out with like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, there's a human nuance understanding that I think human to human, we can understand each other in that way.
Yeah.
That I don't think AI can replicate.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. What inspires you, right?
Yeah.
That Blake, some other designer, attack a problem differently.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
The same problem, but attacked in different ways.
Yeah.
Now, if you take an AI, introduce that into the equation, can that AI learn the inspiration that you learn, and see the inspirations, images that you see, and try to apply it in the same method that you would apply, and attack that problem the same way you would?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think potentially
Yeah, it has potential,
has
right?
potential, but it's always subsequent to the human doing it first
Right.
and programming it to think exactly the way. Like, so it would.
But it can also learn, right? Like,
It can, yeah.
and if it follows John in his journey, if John is seeing these images, like the AI can, it could be. Do you think it could be a clone of you?
I do think so. That's a really good. So if you look at, I'm looking at. I have this app on my phone called like Wonder. It's not as crazy as Dolly or anything like that. It's free. You guys can or Starry AI.
Yeah.
You can create artwork according to a certain artist style.
Yes.
So for instance, if I want to make if I want to render a headphone right now or like an earbud and make it look like it was Cinema 4D rendered, I can plug that as a style in. So yeah, you can template John, you can template Mike eventually. And I think like, but that's the thing though, no matter what, you're still gonna always have to plug these people in and program it. But what happens when you have the next, the next iteration of Dieter Rams reincarnated?
Yeah.
How would you have programmed that? Because they're growing up, they're babies right now. They're growing up like you're not gonna be able to program that till they've already started to output that design. So no matter what, I think like AI is still gonna be trailing the innovative parts of design. But like once it happens, yes, then boom, like it's over.
Yeah.
Scary.
It is kind of scary because then, let's say for example, you in your career, how long have you been, a designer?
Yeah, like over 10 years.
Over 10 years, and for AI to be able to learn that so quickly.
Yeah, they'll look at all my portfolio stuff, and then they'll know like the curves that I use. Yeah, and then they'll just it's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But I think even on the social media side, I'm starting to see it a little bit more too.
Yeah.
They're starting to have programs that not only automate and schedule posts for you, but they're starting to actually write like actual copy for blog posts and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just insane
Yeah.
to me how much it's evolving.
Right. But wouldn't you say it's still like a tool though for you? Like
It is.
like it's still a tool, right? Like it needs like a pilot to still navigate it.
Yeah.
There's autopilot, obviously, but then you kind of need to take the wheel sometimes and steer it in the right direction. And I think like currently, that's in the next 5 years, that's probably where we're going to be. Where you're going to see designers using it. I mean, like my team's experimenting with it already. They're not using it in actual client projects because it's not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But like just for fun, like you're seeing them plug stuff out. But it's just ideation phase. It's not good enough to like actually be like, this is DFM ready. You know what I mean? Like not at all.
I think it's important to remember that they're just tools right now that will help us do our jobs better and quicker.
Yeah.
So
I do think people that catch it that well though, they're going to use that as a crutch for ideation, because you can pump out like 9 images of like just rough ideas, plugging in like just one baseline image, and then you just say, hey, I want like 9 different things to look like Apple.
Yeah,
right? And it'll just pump it out.
If it's like writer, the same way writers experience writer's block, right?
Oh yeah.
Designers, I'm sure you guys experience designer block.
Yeah.
It's a
like patents and trademarking and all that. Like, how does it change that landscape? Because now ingenuity and any new permutation can be pre-programmed in. So think about like you get like these patent trolls. There's patent trolls that exist, right?
Yeah.
And they get a hold of like some of this AI this, right? That's crazy.
I think there's 2 ways you can use it, right? There's ways where you can navigate around patent. Maybe there's AI learning where if we run into this problem a lot in our industry, navigating patents. It could be a tool that us engineers use to navigate around patents without infringing. Alternatively, like patent trolls, it could be a way to
set up a minefield, basically.
Well, what is the word I'm trying to protect your patent?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a comment from Blake. Hi everyone that's tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to our channel. But he says some critical machines by definition are meant to not make mistakes, right? So AI might miss out on some of those eureka ideas that define new products.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, right? Ultimately, we're flawed as humans, and we can't do things perfect. And a lot of the innovations, I would say majority of the times we've had hit award-winning designs have been because in the ideation phase, we had a happy accident, right? Like we kind of oversketched a line, or we overdrew like a proportion, and we're like, hey, that's actually pretty interesting, or things like that. And I think, because the artificial intelligence is programmed to just be perfect, right? And to just follow a certain route of computation, you're gonna miss out on a lot of that. And you're probably seeing that. Like that's why when you plug in something on Dolly, or you plug in something on one of these AI apps, it's like confused. Like it doesn't know how to put it all together in the way that you're imagining in your head.
That's funny. I'm gonna play devil's way that you can program imperfect.
You could, yeah.
Perfection.
Dude, that's a great point. So I'm glad you brought that up because on like Starry AI, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a prompt. You can go in the advanced settings. Yeah, it's a prompt that says you can move this scale accuracy to follow prompt.
Okay.
So you can have it diverge, or you can have it stick very closely to your thing. So I was playing with it last night, and you get some kind, I guess, AI kind of accidents.
Okay.
But maybe we're looking at it wrong, right? Like maybe we're comparing. It's not apples to apples. You're comparing a machine to a human, and maybe really what it is it's its own category. It's its own tool that maybe can like supplement or even like complement the way we design too. Because even just doing this, like I just did a quick prompt using headphones. I was like, oh, cool. Like I can oversketch this and then feed it to my team, and then these are ideas that are a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, but as it stands right now, we have the processes that we.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if there's one takeaway that everyone can get from this live right here, do you think AI can eventually eliminate design firms in the future?
I would like to see that happen in my lifetime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I retire.
Okay.
It'll eliminate the weak ones.
It'll compete with a lot of freelancers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it'll eliminate a lot of I would say like mediocre talent and mediocre talent firms, freelancers, things like that. Mainly because I see companies, whether they're startups or in-house, like, hey, like let's download this tool, let's try to use it, see what we can get away with, right, ourselves. But ultimately, I think like, at least for us, if you want to just let's put it all back on like Hatch Duo. Like, do you think it'll replace Hatch Duo? I don't think so. Mainly because I think we have really awesome quality, global award-winning designs, and we're going to continue to do that. I think our business is really based on relationships, right? Like, like if you like majority of the clients that we have now, like we're friends with them. Like we know about their family life, we know about their funding struggles, if they're raising funds, like we know about just like
we can have enjoy meals with our clients.
Yeah, we know things outside of what you're gonna plug into like the computational thing, and I think that context and understanding your client helps like make the design process pretty fluid too. And that's something you're not gonna get just like from a purely transactional plug-in prompt kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's plenty of design firms around, especially even in the Bay Area. You don't just hire Hatch Duo or XYZ firm just purely because everyone can design and do industrial design and mechanical engineering. You're going to hire them for the people and the relationships that you're going to have. And that's something that I don't think you're necessarily going to have with AI. So it just really depends on the people, right? Yeah.
I think it's important to note too that it is advancing significantly, but I still feel like humans are still going to find ways to adapt and interact within their environments.
Yeah, I wouldn't discredit that AI is going to play a big role in changing the market landscape, but I think just like DoorDash and food delivery, it's made it more convenient for people, but people still crave human experiences where they're at restaurants.
Yeah.
Like you got COVID rampant right now, and people are still like, "Hey, I'm gonna go eat like in this restaurant because I want that experience." Like, we could easily DoorDash that food, but well, why do you go and do it? It's because you want that human interaction, and I think that's why ultimately like AI won't replace like a design firm as long as the design firm constantly evolves too.
Yeah.
So it's a race of evolution.
Yeah.
All right, so we're just about reaching time here, you guys. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. Let us know in the comments if there's any more topics that you'd like for us to discuss in future lives. But yeah, we're gonna start doing this maybe like twice a month with different Hatch Duo team members here. So leave us a like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
For tuning in.
All right.